The first component of origination strategy is credit policy. What's a credit policy? It refers to the rules that to determine which applications will be considered further or they are declined upfront. Essentially, it tells what kind of applications we will even consider. Okay, and there are some cases that simply the lender does not want to do business with the consumers. Typically, there's a few scenarios. The first major component of origination strategy is credit policy. What's credit policy? It refers to the rules to determine which applications will be considered further in the strategy or they are declined upfront. Essentially, credit policy specifies what kind of consumers the lender wants to deal with versus not. It will give other people a clear idea so about the scope of the credit business of a given lender. Let's look at some specific examples. Okay, so we have a few scenarios here. Typically, each lender has policy around these. The first one is foreign nationals. If the bank is more domestic oriented, so it might not grant any credit to foreigners. However, if the bank is a subsidiary of international bank, most likely it will allow the foreigners, especially from its host country, where the headquarters is located at, to obtain a certain credit. On the other hand, you have maybe a very open economy, like Canada, a lot of immigrants. In that case, I think all the major lenders, they are open business with immigrants, foreign students, foreign workers. So that's a policy that every bank needs to have. Then we have major derogatory records. So usually, if consumer has a charge off already, or major collection item, so do you want to do business with that consumer or not? Maybe you want to look at the timing, right? So did that happen more than 2 years ago? Maybe you can consider the application, or it's too recent, just happening last 6 months. Usually in that case, you might not want to do business with that consumer. No hit. If there's no credit profile located, this could be customers new to credit market, like new graduates or immigrants. So what do you want to do? Okay, new file. If there is a file, but as recent as within 6 months, it's too new to have established behavior history. Do you want to accept that application or not? Steam file. There is a file maybe with 1 year or 2 years history, but there's only one particular trade line. We call it a credit account. So that's a little bit too thin, right, to draw a conclusion. So what do you want to do, right? So you can choose to accept, or you can choose to decline. Recent inquiries. What happens if we have a customer who has 10 inquiries in the past 6 months? Okay, so obviously the consumer is shopping for credit. Usually that's a sign that the consumer is a little bit desperate. So many banks, they have policies. If we are over, let's say 6 inquiries, 7 inquiries, we will not evaluate you further. So these are just some examples of what could go into a credit policy. Okay, let's look at the credit policy versus credit strategy. Some people, they use these two terms, interchangeably, but I think it's a good idea to distinguish them. Credit policy really is specified as a set of exclusions, right? So which are out of scope of the business. They tend not to change too much in the short term, or usually they don't change at all in some cases for multiple years. They are documented in a credit policy document. So when people read that, they have a clear idea, which consumers could be considered for approval. Versus the credit strategy, usually is more dynamically adjusted, right? So for example, as you will see, we have a credit score as one of the decision elements. So that could be subject to changes pretty often, maybe change once every few months based on the business need, the macroeconomy environment, and usually they are documented in a separate strategy document. So if you document that in credit policy document, that means every time you change a simple score cutoff, you have to go through the whole process. Maybe there's some committee meeting review and document that. That's just a lot of work. So I would definitely recommend we keep the credit policy and credit strategy separate. Okay, because they have a different frequency of review, different frequency of changes, and it's easier to document them separately as well.